Greetings, fellow citizens of Disneyland. Greetings, fellow citizens of Batu. Ricky here. I have a big decision to make today. I've been booked on the 5th ever cruise of the Star Wars Galactic Space Cruiser. Today is the day when I have to send over my final payment and decide, is this something that I really want to do? Because so far, I, like many other real hardcore fans, have not been impressed with A, the level of Star Wars design that we're seeing in the hotel, but also B, the level of Disney design that we're seeing in the hotel. It's looking a lot like the Star Wars Holiday Special or maybe a Chuck E. Cheese in space. Needless to say, there's so many funny and very accurate comments on the internet about just how off it looks. Today's the day where I'm contemplating, is this worth $100 in 2.5 days of my life? This day, my payment is due and I owe a balance of which
It seemed like the dream, finally a chance to go to Star Wars and live inside my childhood fantasy. But the reality brought me right back to Earth. Should I book the Star Wars Galactic Cruiser? That's what I have to decide, and these are my complicated thoughts.
Nice data pad. Mind telling us what you're doing with it?
When we ask ourselves, how did this happen? You have to think about the Star Wars Trading Post that was built during the pandemic. This is a free retail shop on the outskirts of downtown Disney, where they took an old Rainforest Cafe and transformed it into the Star Wars Trading Post to have distribution for Star Wars merchandise while the park was closed. And this thing is accurate, deadly accurate to the Star Wars design facade that we all know and love so much. Sure, it's not perfectly Star Wars, but then again, it also wasn't a blank slate with what one would assume to be a pretty unlimited budget. I think this project embraces that it doesn't take a huge budget, but at least a little bit of a familiarity with the Star Wars brand to make something feel very much like Star Wars. It has the textures, it has the facades, it has all the right materials that are used. It's so curious how you could nail this, something that's free, and strike out on something that is your biggest ticket item that you offer any Star Wars fan. Because this is the aesthetic that we want, right? Like, these are what Star Wars hallways look like. This is a Star Wars ceiling. Those are Star Wars control panels. Where is that in the hotel? Like, this is what I thought I was signing up for. Like, a space like this is what the hotel needs to be successful, because we already have this. So it has to be on this par or greater to be a success. And so far what we've seen does not match this.
You fall behind, you will be interrogated on your own.
You got it, buddy. For a Star Wars hotel to me to feel successful, it has to feel like Star Wars. Transformative experience will be great, characters will be great, but if it doesn't have this core aesthetic, I don't think it will be for me and for many other guests that truly love what Star Wars means and the Star Wars look. Because when we all think of Star Wars, there is a definite look, and this is that look. And so when many people didn't see that from the concept art, from the video, from Tomorrow's lightsaber training, that's when the red flag started to go off. That something went off somewhere. So very fascinating how this could be more of a direct hit versus the hotel, which seems like a big miss. Just because you put, don't even get me started with this one. Don't even get me started with this one. Do you remember the very first time that you saw this room? Remember how excited this room made you feel?
Oh my. It's so amazing.
We move along.
It somehow looks way more Star Tours than modern Star Wars. And not that I don't love Star Tours, but I'm not exactly looking to stay 2.5 days inside of something that looks like Star Tours. I wanted something that felt like Batu. There's a way that science fiction looks, and then there's a way that Star Wars looks. And this looks a lot more like science fiction and a lot less like Star Wars, which I think is where they've gone wrong, and a lot of people have rightfully so started complaining. And in fact, the design seems so lacking of the natural Star Wars aesthetic, it's almost like they don't have the licensing deal.
Because this, an X-Wing fighter, is clearly the Star Wars aesthetic. But this, a fly-in saucer, is clearly not the Star Wars aesthetic.
Disney, you own Star Wars. Why doesn't it just pour and reek of Star Wars instead of looking like a Chuck E. Cheese clone? I feel like anybody could have put this hotel together, and rightfully so, call it a Space Cruiser Hotel, because it doesn't feel like Star Wars, it just feels vaguely like science fiction. And honestly, if we didn't know that that right there was the Starcruiser transport ship, would this feel like Star Wars to you? No.
Starspeeder 1000 is an amazing vehicle, and we've all enjoyed our experiences on it. But one would not say that this is that experience we were promised.
We've adopted it as Star Wars because it's inside of Disneyland, and back in the day, it was our only way to go on a real-life Star Wars adventure. But since then, the brand and Disney has evolved so much. So why go with this aesthetic and not the Batuu aesthetic? If a door is a door, then why does this door right here not feel as Star Wars as this door? Now this is a Star Wars door, and this is the type of aesthetic that I believe so many of us were expecting to see at the Star Wars Hotel, but it feels a little bit more like the other door. There's a warmth and texture that was put inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Batuu. This warmth and texture just doesn't seem to be a part of the Star Wars Hotel. And yeah, I know it's a hotel and I'm in an outdoor theme park environment, but for the price point, you would have thought they would have figured out a nice hybrid of the two to make that hotel feel like I'm inside of this world and not the world over in Tomorrowland. Clearly, you can see the difference between the Star Wars aesthetic and the Home Depot sci-fi aesthetic. This is that one, and it doesn't feel the same way as Galaxy's Edge, but it feels way more akin to what we're seeing with the hotel room. I just thought comparing Tomorrowland to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was a really clear way to point out just how different this aesthetic is than what many of us were expecting after seeing the concept art and the recent marvel of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. Sure, you can have all the different angled cuts that we saw inside of A New Hope that establish the origin of the Star Wars aesthetic, but these are just supplies that we could buy at Home Depot. Where's the stainless steel? Where's the rusted metal? Where's the tooth that made Star Wars amazing? Back in the day when I watched New Hope, I could not understand why is it futuristic, but why is it so eroded? Why is it so decayed? And that was what we loved about Star Wars, is that it was new and vintage all at once. Buy it at Home Depot aesthetic, it just doesn't feel like the Star Wars that we've all fallen in love with. Why make a hotel with these materials and not the metal materials, the worn out materials, the materials that quite frankly blew so many of us away inside of Batuu? And whether you love Batuu or not, that's completely up to you. I'm an adult with no kids, so to me it's a win. Even if your big complaint is there's not enough rides or enough food there, you have to say this: it is at least beautiful. Whether it's functional or not to you, that's up to you and your family, but you have to admit that it's at least beautiful. This look right here is dated and worn out. It is not beautiful. This look right here is somehow the design choice that they made.
This is Star Wars, and this is basic sci-fi. There's a big difference between the two, and I feel like this is the aesthetic they went with, and this is the one they got ignored.
Keep in mind, this is a pandemic project, designed, created, budgeted. This isn't something they had money earmarked or set aside for before the pandemic happened. This was an idea that was birthed during the worst time in park history, and they were able to nail this looking much like the Star Wars image. So what do you think happened? Is it a matter of setting the bar too high, or do you think it was a matter of running out of money? I don't think it's really either one of those, quite frankly, because we've seen how high they can set the standard. We know what Disney is capable of doing for the Star Wars brand. And quite frankly, they nailed it with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And as far as running out of money, this project was announced way before COVID-19, way before the pandemic, along with a lot of other projects. When it was announced, there was money put aside for it. This was something that was worked into the budget, and we have seen so many other pre-pandemic projects come to fruition without missing a beat. There is something here that is not one of those two things, which leads me to believe, as somebody who's been a designer, somebody who's been an artist and has worked with tons and tons of clients about conveying a creative message, a creative idea. To me, this seems like something that is all about poor management. And I don't blame the artists involved, because any artist with a pencil knows what the Star Wars aesthetic is. This is someone that clearly thought they knew better than their creative team. They knew what they thought that the fans would need. This to me seems like the ego of someone in middle management that somehow thinks that they know better, but clearly doesn't know Star Wars. Very clear what is Star Wars and what's not Star Wars. And I clearly think this is a case of not being Star Wars. For example, let's compare this door in Tomorrowland to this door in Galaxy's Edge. There's a huge difference. There's a scale, there's a tooth, there's a texture here which feels uniquely, very unique to Star Wars and Star Wars in Disney's hands. The aesthetic was chosen wasn't necessarily Star Wars. It seems to be the type of thing that middle management, somebody that thinks that they know better than the creative team, would decide, no, this is going to be the direction that we're going in. It seems like a case of a bad client. And what a bad client does is they suffer out the creativity, they take their opinion over the top of their creative team, they take all of that and push it aside because they think that they know better. It's an ego thing. And this has a bad ego written all over it. Clearly reeking of management that thinks that they know better than their creative team, but clearly doesn't know Star Wars. This isn't what we signed up for, at least not what I signed up for. They've proven to us that they can build Star Wars, but can they prove it to us that they can do it inside of this template? Because thus far, it doesn't seem that way. When I was thinking about all the things that could make the Star Wars hotel fail, I thought it was going to be a failure based on us, the guest experience, where if everybody doesn't buy in to the role-playing, to the theme, this customer engagement, how do you get people to stay off their phone? How do you get everybody to engage in a group role-play? With 100-something guests staying at the hotel, it would be so hard, I always thought, to get everybody on that same page. If everybody doesn't decide to put their phone down and be involved, I don't know how you could get 100-something people to all participate, everybody to experience the same story. So I always thought that what would ruin the hotel would be us, the guests. I didn't ever really think that it would be Disney that would ruin the hotel, because I thought they had it within their skill set, within their design sensibility, and within their entertainment mindset to make something that was truly transformative, something that would make everyone feel like they were part of Star Wars. But thus far what we've seen, it does not match where I'm at inside of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. And I think that's the big part that needs to be critiqued, is that where did this aesthetic come from? Because it's certainly not one that any of us know from Star Wars. The bridge of that ship does not look like any ship we've ever seen inside of Star Wars. this is our expectations. If it is everything like what we have seen thus far, and there's not any of this aesthetic inside of the hotel, what will the future of the hotel become? Will it just eventually turn into its own hotel? Will it become just like every other hotel on property? Will they add in a pool and it's just a place that you stay?
I'm not trying to make excuses on why people are canceling, because obviously a lot of people that are canceling, and even myself, considered canceling based on the aesthetic that we saw being, well, very far off. But then again, there is the factor that the pandemic now is in a very weird state, and with the new virus ripping through Florida, could be a lot of people, a lot like myself, that the idea of being inside of a hotel for 2 days straight around 100-something strangers, it's not my ideal scenario. And keeping a mask on my face the entire time isn't exactly the funnest thing I could imagine. So definitely the images that we've seen haven't helped whatsoever. They haven't helped the cause. But I don't think the pandemic has helped the cause very much either.
Working on something brand new, there is an endless amount of creative decisions that have to be made. The artist, sadly, can't make all of these decisions upon themselves. It takes management that manages not only the artist, but the budget for the project to see what can actually be done. So anything can be drawn, anything can be illustrated, but at the end of the day, it's the management that has to make those final creative decisions in the space between what's dreamt and what gets built. When you have a good idea, does your idea have legs to it? Is it an idea that can scale, that can move forward? Is it something that will be everlasting? So far, this idea doesn't seem like it has a lot of legs. Does it have reach? Does the idea reach out and grab people? Is it conveyed in a way where everybody wants what it is that you're offering out? And lastly, does your project have vision? I like the idea of this clear R2 unit dome, right? Like where there's enough of the structure that's familiar, but enough transparency to see what's happening behind the scenes. This is what I'm gonna go with. I think that the idea is solid. I think the vision is what is lacking with this project. Let me explain to you why I think that is a management problem and not an artist problem. So when you have a solid idea, it's all about the execution, right? You can have the greatest plan in the world, but it has to be executed properly. Execution is when the idea meets reality. And the execution is when decisions have to be made. We can illustrate, we can draw, we can dream up anything, but who approves the materials, the cost of goods? That is when the idea starts to develop legs. Putting the idea together is when the idea simply becomes real. So when you actually put the project together and you create its vision, and many, many times there are people in management that don't fight for creativity. They don't fight for making the project as solid as possible. They don't bring the idea all the way across the finish line. They cut corners based on their own selfish agendas, whether it be coming in under budget for their personal bonuses. There are lots of different reasons why good ideas fall apart. And ultimately it comes down to management or leadership that just doesn't have the vision. They don't see it like the artist, they don't see it like the creative. They forget what the customer's needs are, and they get more selfish, worrying about what meets their bottom line or what meets the timeline that they got to get their project finished on. Something that blows everybody away and keeps gas coming back over and over again. That should be the standard that should have been strived for. And that's what happened with Galaxy's Edge where I'm in. But something has gone awry because this is not living up to that expectation, which is why so many people are bummed out, and folks like myself are like, did I make a mistake? R2-D2. This is a perfect idea executed. 40 plus years and people still love the shape, the figure, and the charisma of this little droid. Millions of units sold all around the world because the idea is perfect. This is what Star Wars is capable of doing. This is what we always expect it to do.
Going first, we're gonna wait till he flashes in there. Pairing! You wanna go, Doc?
Thank you so much. The execution of an idea is all about seeing it from the sketch to the construction to the very end. But this idea is only good if it still has a couple of surprises left. And why I think so many people have been unfair critiquing the hotel and saying it's a failure before they've been there is we don't know what surprises Disney has in store for guests upon the Star Wars Cruiser. Because every great Star Wars attraction has a surprise to it. It has a moment that we don't anticipate. Every great Disneyland show has a moment into it where it keeps building and building and new technology is revealed as the show goes on. Disney attractions always have that hidden moment in them where you don't see that coming. That's the part that makes things fun. It's the surprise of Disney. And so far people have been really, really critical without knowing what that surprise is. I want this to succeed. I love the company, I love the good times. I'm not someone that eggs them on to fail. Take no joy in covering things that aren't fun, especially when my money's on the line. So like many of you, there is a huge and rightful so skepticism on will this actually be great. Excuse me, sir. I built this droid, and I don't have a home for it. Does he have a home for it? Hey, do you want a free droid? Will you give it a good home? You'll give it a good home? You take good care of it for me?
Thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Hey,
be good to him.
Thank you very much.
Have fun, guys. Have fun with that droid. All right, have fun, buddy. See ya.
Thank you.
See, Disney is best when there's a surprise involved, right? Like he didn't know he was getting a droid. Now he has a droid. So therefore, what surprises are inside the hotel that we don't know about? That is the part that can't be critiqued until you go there. Which is why I'm starting to think it's my responsibility to go there and enjoy it and to see what is that element we haven't seen yet. Is there a surprise that makes this worth it?
There's no escape. You will tell me the location of the secret base, and then I will destroy you and the resistance.
There is so much that they can do and so much we haven't seen. It's a little premature to say that it's a failure. But what it has to have in it, it has to have a big kind of surprise.
You guys really gotta get close, don't you?
To make it feel like a true adventure.
Your escape pods came in a little off target.
Even though right now it doesn't seem that way, I'm gonna bet that there could be a surprise that would make it feel as transformative as if we've actually gone to space and come back, because Disney has already been able to do it so many times for us in the past. And at the end of the day, thank you. That's what it needs to feel like. It needs to feel like we've been to space, like we've been on an adventure, and we've lived our own personalized Star Wars adventure. If it can do that, it will be a success. And thus far, nobody has done that yet. So to call it a failure is premature. Of course, we're all rooting for it to be a success. We love when Disney amazes us with all kinds of fun. And so far, it does look pretty sketchy and a little bit below our expectations. But we haven't done it. We haven't seen it. We haven't voyaged it. And that's why I feel like it's my obligation to go there and to experience it and critique it from the front lines instead of trashing it on the sidelines. And I will be honest as always, because I'm the one that ponied up the money, and I will tell you firsthand whether it was worth it or whether it was a waste. So as I've seen a lot of other people critique this, and I do believe that this is a moment where the YouTube community does need to be critical and keep Disney honest. So far what we've seen, it does not look up to speed for what we all expect. But I have seen people that aren't going, never intended on going, never booked a room, I've seen them very much over-exaggerate the price. I hear everybody throwing around these crazy figures. That's for an entire room. For me, going with a group of buds, I'm at $1,800 for the both nights. So a little over $900 a night. We also upgraded and did the captain's dinner. So when I hear everybody saying $5,000, $6,000, it's a half truth. That's exactly what I have on the line to do the Star Wars Hotel. Yeah, there's a lot of other things that money could be spent on. With my obligation to the channel on bringing you guys all kinds of fun stuff, that's the investment I've made, and you can look at it as a business investment or a personal investment. I like to think of all this as somewhere blurring the lines between the two, but that is realistically what I have on the line. So it's not a gamble for me of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 that I've heard other people say. It's what it costs when an individual goes with friends and divvies up the room. My slice of the pizza is $18.71. So when I hear everybody saying $5,000, $6,000, it's a half truth. That would be if one person went by themselves. And even though many of us have gone to the park solo before, how many people have gone on a cruise like that or booked a room like that and gone totally solo? So I feel like that's a little something that people say to get clickbaity and to really get the internet outrage going of look how bad it looks for this cost. Is there a component that we don't know? Is there a Jedi story? Are there characters? Are there missions? What about the transformation over into Batuu? How is this actually going to work? That's the part that nobody knows yet. That's the part you can't critique. That's the part that makes me excited to want to go. I guess I've made up my decision that even though it's not perfect, it still feels worthy of an experiment. And after all, friendship is more important than anything. So therefore, because of friendship, which always wins in the end, and the reason why I do this channel, and the reason why I love this place, it's on.
Frankie, what's up, man?
Are you in front of Epcot? Oh, look at that. That is a thing of beauty.
Right now, so I just went down.
That's amazing. So I've thought about it, and even though it doesn't seem perfect, you stuck your neck out for me. You were a friend when it was the hottest ticket in town, and I would be a jerk if I bailed on you now. I'm all in on the fun, brother.
All right, yes.
And
It's so much fun, dude.
and even if it's not amazing, at least it'll be funny.
Yeah, I think we got a pretty good crew of 8 going too, so I think we're gonna have fun for sure. I mean, the experience. We'll see what we have to do, what activities they have to offer. But man, I know that my friends are coming, your friends are coming. Like we're gonna have a great time.
I feel good about that. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And if you only cover the hits, are you really covering the park? Are you really showing everybody everything that exists out there? And before I put in my final critique on this, I really want to challenge Disney on how well can you live your Star Wars fantasy. I want to go there, and something that I'm not into, but I want to commit to the role play that they're giving up for everybody, and I want to go all in on living a Star Wars adventure and then come back home and immediately record a old school radio play, a podcast explaining to everybody just how far into character you can go. Aesthetically, it looks like it might be a miss, but who knows? It could be an amazing role play, an adventure that everybody just doesn't see all of the parts just yet. Disney would be a fool to show their complete hand before any guest actually stepped onto the hotel. So now's the time I'm gonna go ahead and commit to it and go all in. What is life without a little bit of adventure? And at the end of the day, it's only money. You can run out and make more of it. And I think a really important factor that gets overlooked when people are just critiquing the price of the hotel and the experience it looks at, what about when you make a commitment to your friends? My friend Kevin was able to get us on the 5th cruise ever due to his status with being a Club 33 member out on the East Coast. He stuck his neck out for us when we all thought this was going to be the greatest thing in the world. So let me know, what do you guys think? Think I made the right decision, doubling down on my friends, or would you not spend the money on it? I mean, yeah, it's a lot of money, but if the experience and the fun is right with friends, then I'll be able to justify it. And then also too, I'll be able to have all the content with each and every one of you. And as I said, I would much rather critique from the front lines, go there and experience, and tell you if it's amazing or tell you if it's shit, but tell you that as experiencing it, as living it, as somebody who spent their money and their time there versus somebody who watched from the sidelines on the internet. And I think that's really, really important. And we don't know yet. Disney hasn't showed us everything. I'm sure there's a couple of surprises up their sleeves. I'm hoping that they're amazing and that they really blow me away. But right now, we'll say I'm very cautiously pessimistic, trying to be cautiously optimistic. So let me know in the comments below. Do you think I did the right thing? And think about it, like not just on the hotel. If you told your friend you were gonna do something, would you still go through with it? I think ultimately that's what this particular video about the Star Wars hotel is about, but I'm sure there'll be many other videos to come as this adventure is far from over. Friends, thank you so much for watching today's video. And if you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel. I really need your help turning this into a much larger channel so I can justify these crazy adventures and so many more that I want to take each and every one of you on. So leave a comment, and until the next time I see you standing on the edge of the Millennium Falcon contemplating, did I just spend $1,800 correctly? I'll see you back on the channel with more Disneyland fun.